For those of you who don't know what a slasher movie is, it generally features a group of teens or young adults being hunted down by a masked murderer. The format of these movies usually goes as follows. A group of teens head out to a secluded area and are slowly picked off one by the main villain until the main character, who is usually female, defeats the killer or escapes as the sole survivor. This type of character has been dubbed the final girl by many slasher fans. Usually, the final girl is the only person to survive in these movies, and is coincidentally the only character who can make rational decisions to outsmart and outwit the killer. Usually these characters are virtuous, goody two-shoes characters who don't take part in any immoral activity, such as drinking, doing drugs, etc. Most of you have probably heard of at least one slasher movie in your lifetime. Some popular examples would be Friday the 13th, Halloween, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is one of the earliest and most notable films to inspire slasher movies, being made in 1960. Most of you probably know this film from the famous shower scene that has been popular for a long time. However, this movie isn't typically thought of as a slasher, but merely an inspiration for the genre. There were many more inspirations, such as Michael Powell's Peeping Tom, which got into a lot of controversy after its release for its sexual and violent themes that weren't widely accepted in film at the time. Many critics gave it horrible reviews, destroying the director's career because of its content. In the early 70s, more and more films depicting loads of violence and death to profit off of the trend came out and were dubbed exploitation films. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which features a group of young adults going on a road trip and being attacked by a chainsaw-wielding man called Leatherface and a sadistic family, was one of these movies as well, depicting cannibalism and gore. However, some of these films used horror and scares to talk about topics that were controversial at the time. For example, a holiday-themed exploitation film by the name of Black Christmas, which featured a sorority house which was being harassed by a man making phone calls and killing them off one by one, used the main characters' relationship issues to talk about controversial subjects such as feminism, alcoholism, and abortion. However, the film received mixed reviews from critics, such as Variety magazine, who said that the film was a bloody, senseless kill-for-kicks feature that exploits unnecessary violence in a university sorority house. Some reviewers praised the film for its amazing lead actress and innovative plotline. Black Christmas actually inspired a lot of slasher movies and created some of the common camera work and tropes we see today in slasher and horror movies, such as the now overused call is coming from inside the house twist, and the camera work where the viewer would be looking through the eyes of the killer in a first-person perspective. John Carpenter, the director of Halloween, was actually inspired by Black Christmas to make his movie. The way Halloween actually came to be was when producers Irwin Yablans and Mustafa Akkad approached Carpenter to create a movie about a killer stalking babysitters. Carpenter and the main producer Deborah Hill agreed to make the movie for them, titling it The Babysitter Murders. Yablans was reportedly the one to come up with the title change and the idea to set it on Halloween night. Carpenter used the location of a suburban neighborhood to create a sense of paranoia in a setting that would normally be deemed safe from things such as a man going on a killing spree. Halloween was a low-budget film that was made from roughly $300,000. However, word of mouth began to spread about the film and it gradually became more and more popular before making back a total of $70 million. Halloween was the most influential film of the genre and is arguably one of the main inspirations for almost every film of the genre today, such as Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th's original movie was made specifically to cash in on the trend that was started by Halloween. There isn't much else to say about Friday the 13th other than the fact that the killer was never shown to the audience until the final scene where she was revealed to be Jason's mother. Friday the 13th lacked the strategic camera work, tension and suspense building, and general uneasy atmosphere of Halloween. However, they made up for it with the amazing practical effects that they used in the death scenes, which I won't be showing for obvious reasons. Many different movie studios began to cash in on the slasher trend after the success of Friday the 13th and Halloween, created movies that all had the same formula of a killer killing off a cast of two-dimensional characters. Because of the same thing happening in almost every movie, the genre started to die out and highly promoted slashers were becoming box office failures. Studios were abandoning the genre because it was no longer profitable. Then came A Nightmare on Elm Street, made by Wes Craven, which featured a child murderer who was burned alive coming back from the dead and killing the children of the parents who killed him. This movie revitalized the genre by mixing horror and a slasher villain with fantasy and supernatural elements. After this, the slasher genre was dominated by sequels, which fell in quality as more and more were made. These sequels continued to release regularly, and they didn't care about quality control or continuity of the films. However, because of these sequels, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Michael Myers skyrocketed in popularity to become horror icons. From 1985 to 1995, slasher movie sequels started to get churned out by movie studios, the most notable franchises being A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Halloween, and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. While Friday the 13th and Halloween already had sequels prior to this, they were still considered to be part of the golden age of slashers, which was from 1978 to 1984. A Nightmare on Elm Street released a sequel that was rushed to production, which overshadowed films such as Friday the 13th: A New Beginning, as audiences started to grow tired of the franchise's repetitiveness. After the genre started to die out once more as sequels started becoming financial failures, Wes Craven began to create some movies that were self-aware of the slasher trope and poked fun at it as well. The first movie, Wes Craven's A New Nightmare, featured the actors from the first Nightmare on Elm Street playing themselves as they were attacked by Freddy in the real world. It poked fun at the fan base of the movies and was generally a new idea that almost every slasher fan loved. However, A New Nightmare was not as influential as Scream, which was also made by Wes Craven and released in 1996. Scream was a breath of fresh air in a genre that had too many sequels. It was a movie filled with satire that was poking fun at the slasher genre itself.
Look, here it comes.
The blood is all wrong. Why do they do that? It's too red.
Wait.
The script was filled with witty dialogue and likable characters that would reference other horror and slasher movies. After Scream came out, a lot of movies parodying the slasher genre came out with the same style as Scream. Halloween even jumped on the bandwagon with Halloween H2O, which ignores all movies after the first and second and has a Scream-like soundtrack and chase scenes. Movies such as I Know What You Did Last Summer and Urban Legend are a few examples of movies inspired by Scream. Satirical and self-referencing slasher movies still come out today, such as The Final Girls, which came out in 2015, where a group of friends get trapped inside a slasher movie and try to save the characters and also escape. Happy Death Day, which came out in 2017, is where a cliché mean girl is trapped in a time loop as a slasher villain kills her over and over. And also The Cabin in the Woods, which came out in 2011. It's the best out of these three movies, and I won't be spoiling it, and I suggest anyone who likes horror movies should watch it. However, in the mid-2000s, horror movie remakes started coming out. These usually had higher production budgets and usually changed the structures of the plots to make them more realistic and gritty. Most of these movies were not received well by critics, as they usually changed the stories in bad ways and also did nothing original with their plots at the same time. These were received horribly by horror fans as well, especially the Halloween remakes, as they try to give a backstory to Michael Myers, when the whole thing that made him scary was that you didn't know why he was murdering people. However, recently, the old slasher genre has been making a comeback. TV shows with a slasher theme were being made, such as Scream Queens, which is a comedy show parodying slasher movies.
Y'all hear that?
What are you guys talking about?
Is that killer noises? I'm hallucinating.
Chanel, was that you?
I'm gonna ask one more time. Will you speak up?
Is it a lawnmower?
Recently, Blumhouse has been making slasher-like movies, such as Happy Death Day and The Purge. After the success of these films, Blumhouse released Halloween 2018, which was a direct sequel to the first film, which ignored all other films in the timeline, trying to go back to the series' roots. The movie was similar to the old movie in which Michael stalks random people on Halloween night and kills them, since they retconned a plot twist that happened in the other movies. However, it had a fresh new twist as it focused on the character development of 3 generations of the Strode woman, Laurie, her daughter, and her granddaughter. The movie focused a lot on Laurie's PTSD and trauma following the first movie, with her obsession to finally kill Michael Myers once and for all, and also how it affected her daughter and granddaughter's lives. I will be leaving out any spoilers because the movie came out recently. Halloween 2018 was a massive success, and a sequel is already being written. Friday the 13th most likely won't be able to make a comeback along with Halloween, as currently the writer of the first film and the producer of the others are having a lawsuit over who is going to get the rights for the series. This lawsuit may take years to finally settle, as they have tried to come to an agreement and failed many times already. I hope you enjoyed this history of slasher movies, as they definitely came a long way, and I'm glad they are making a comeback.